Ezekiel chapter 9. And I want you to see how Yahweh dealt with the land, how he dealt with his angels. And I'm going to show you how this is going to take place, because as I said, America has not experienced famine or Yahweh pestilence. Prosperity has been through the United States. Oh, she done had some setback, what you call the stock market, what you call the face of the government closing. These things right here, setbacks. But she been prospering through it all in her great wickedness and witchcraft and murder and killing innocent people in the country and out of the country. But we have a country that must be judged by everything she has done, because it's been your fathers and your mother doing it. Unless you forgot who doing it, the nation is people. People are the nations. It's been the people that's doing these things. Let's see what Yahweh say in Ezekiel's 9th chapter, verse 1. He cried also in my ears with a loud voice, saying, cause them that have charge over the city to draw near. Yahweh said, cause them to have charge over the city to draw near. You just saw us in a city that Yahweh is the one to bring evil upon the city. In the book of Amos, chapter 3, verse 6 and 7. He showed you how it come through him. This is what took place here. Every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. Every man with his destroying weapon in his hand came near unto him. That means it's in the kingdom of heaven now. He's addressing this matter. And he's addressing this matter from the kingdom of heaven unto the earth. And behold, 6 men came from the way of their high gate, which lie toward the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them with clothing white with linen, with a writer inkhorn by his side. And they went in and stood beside the brass altar. And they standing beside the brass altar, one with an inkhorn, ready to write these things down, what was going to take place. And the glory of Yahweh of Israel was gone up from the cherub whereupon he was. So you see, this is heavenly thing now. To the threshold of the house. And he called to the men clothing with linen, which had the written inkhorn by his side. I want to talk to you and tell you exactly what to do. And Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city. Go through the midst of the city. And in this right here, you'll see something. Through the midst of Jerusalem. The city was Jerusalem. Just like they're over there today, doing what they're doing to Gaza, to the Palestinians. Just like they over there and been doing since they declared themselves as a nation, bowing down to a wall, idol worshippers, building a temple, and they building the temple to prepare for a false deity to come in and worship. Because Yahweh don't dwell in no temple made by man's hand. He dwells in us, made by his hand. His hand made us, not we ourselves. His hand. Now, our hand is trying to make an image and likeness unto us, robots. So, Yahweh is telling his angels what to do with his handwork. The midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the foreheads of the men that sight, that cry, that weep. and that cry for all the abomination that be done in the midst thereof. Now Jerusalem is a worldwide city that's supposed to be of righteousness and truth. And you can see that the Vatican, where the Pope sits, is supposed to be a symbol of the Holy Seer for all the world to see. It's supposed to be established in righteousness and truth. But it's abomination, the filthiness of religion. The filthiness of it. And when people don't see righteousness and truth coming out of the Vatican, and they only see religion that was handed down thousands of years ago, today they only worshiping a temple religion. The people that call themselves Catholics. And if you gonna call yourself anything, you better let people call you Hebrews to know who you serve, who gave you that name. Because there was only two sons that Abraham had, Ishmael and Isaac, which was Hebrews. And they were from the land of Syria. And being of that, the people was grafted in, which was the Gentile, the European, grafted in. But being grafted in, they forgot they was grafted in. And they tried to control the house that Yahweh built, people's lives. You can't do that. That is not a righteousness of truth. That's why they can't speak the truth one to another and everybody that come in their midst. It's deceit, lies, and hypocrisy. A Hebrew has to have truth and honor to serve their Creator. So here we is here. He's dealing with Jerusalem. He's saying begin at Jerusalem. And beginning at Jerusalem, that means it's going to begin at you. And if you ain't crying for the sodomites and the homosexuals and the transvestite today, then you're part of the evildoers. That means you are congregating with them. You accept them as people like you. But they have another spirit that's not like yours. They outside of his creation. They're not inside his creation. He didn't create in his creation Adam and Adam. He created Adam and put him in a deep sleep and took his rib, and from Adam he made Eve, and Adam called Eve, your bones are my bones and flesh of my flesh, you shall be called woman. Woman. And being called woman, his desire was for Eve, not another Adam standing there. That's not his creation. That's Satan's creation. To have you burning in your lust for the same sex, leaving your natural affection. He didn't give you affection to have another same existing male with you or female with you. That's Satan doing. You were burning so much in your lust that you couldn't see you had left your natural affection that Yahweh gave you from the beginning, that been handed down through all these 6,000 years, male and female. But Satan also handed down his people from the angels that went into them and overtook them and put that burning lust into them. And then they went and took Yahweh creation and made Yahweh creation lust for them, and they became one. But it's not his doing. So Yahweh is telling his angels in this city, dealing with every household that is in this city, this here. Verse 5. And to the other he said in my hearing, go you after him through the city, and smite, and let not your eye spare, neither have you pity. Now he's telling the angels, don't have pity. and they obey him. Don't spare, because abomination is in the land of the city today. And like I said, when he sent his pestilence, when he sent his death angels, they're looking for something. They're going to kill everything that come their way, and every way they go, they're going to kill. Because they're commanded to do. But you don't have no fear when the trumpet is blown. You going to ride it out. You can't ride out death angels. You can't ride out when he sent a pestilence in the city, or a famine upon the city, the countries of the world today, the household today. You can't ride it out. So Satan is making machines to replace you, because the machines can ride it out. They're not human, neither do they have a being inside of them. And you're going to sleep while he's working, and working to release this upon you. But Yahweh going to execute his judgment upon you first, because you've been doing this for 6,000 years. Man and woman, family, has been doing the deeds of evil this long, and you're still doing it today. As you hear of this, only his people going to have ears to hear what the Spirit is saying concerning what Yahweh going to do on behalf of his people. I'm warning the world. Judgment is coming upon you. I'm warning your house. Judgment going to come into your house upon you. I'm warning everybody that got time to work out their salvation with fear and tremble, to turn back to their making creator, to repent and ask for forgiveness to save your soul. You might not save your body. It was never from the beginning to save the flesh. Thus it is, thus it shall return. But it is in the beginning to save that living soul. That Yahweh breathed into man, and man became a living soul. That's what Yahweh gonna say. You want to save the flesh? He's trying to show you you're trying to save the wrong thing. Keep it as a temple to honor me in, but I'm gonna save that soul. Because the soul that sinned, it shall die, not the flesh. It's just going back into the dust it was created for. It's what's in this tabernacle that he gonna save. We read on. Verse 6. Slay early, old and young, both maids and little children, and women. Don't care how beautiful they is, how much makeup they put on, their cosmetology, all their affairs, how fine and figure they think they is and stuff. Angels don't have desire to look upon you in any way but to obey what they was told to do. You can get man to look upon your nakedness, your figure. You can put on all your tight dresses and everything else you want to do. But that's only for man. Angels is not going to be attracted to you. They're going to slay you in your figure, in your clothes. Verse 6. Slay early, old, and young, both maid and little children, and women. But come not near any man upon whom is the mark. Any man that is whom is the mark. The land gonna suffer under you what you have done, because you're gonna reap what you sow. But Yahweh gonna do something in his land for his people that love him and obey him, keep his commandment. He gonna set a mark upon us, and you won't see it. You won't know it, because you don't want to gather yourself with Yahweh people. You want to gather yourself with the world people. You want to be of the world. You want to act like the world, look like the world, talk like the world. You don't want to have a holy conversation talking about the kingdom of heaven. You don't want to dress to show not your nakedness appearing to everybody that walk and see you in your nakedness. But you think you're going to go to heaven because you've been told that by the Christian church. Well, I told you, Abraham had 2 sons, Ishmael and Isaac. And through 42 generations, Yeshua came down through the seed of Ishmael and Isaac. And by Isaac being in that midst of Jacob's son, Isaac was unto Jacob his father. And Jacob had 12 sons, and through that 12 sons, there was a kingdom born. And there was also 12 sons of Ishmael, and there was a kingdom born. Yahweh didn't curse Ishmael. He blessed him. He don't change that. He blessed him and said no man will be able to tame you in this earth. And that means put you in captivity and wrestle from you your birthright. So, this being in the earth today among you, you have not seen what Satan has put a third seed among you. A third seed that is not of Abraham's seed. Christianity came from Constantine. The emperor of Rome brought forth Christianity. Yeshua didn't deal with Christianity. Yeshua dealt with Jesus, dealt with the Hebrews, the Syrians of his birthright. He dealt with his own. And he told the rest of them to go out into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. And he that believe shall be baptized and shall be saved according to their confession with their own mouth by the deeds and the fruit of their doing. But Christianity came, and it was the third seed mingled among the 2 seeds of Abraham. And Yahweh says, set the mark upon those that are sighting for the abomination upon my people. And he said, begin in Jerusalem. And it began in Jerusalem, that means in every house that called upon his name. I told you, this country said, in God we trust. But they trust in capitalism. So when he come through here, you saying that this place is the place of God, then this is the place of Jerusalem too. Jerusalem is here too. You don't have to go to the Middle East to go in there to see the wickedness that is taking place. This is Jerusalem too, because where his people is Jerusalem. So if this country is so blessed in the things of prosperity, it has to be judged for the evil he has done too also. We're here. And he said, begin in my sanctuary. Let's read. And any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Now, if this is the beginning of his sanctuary, let's go over here in 1 Peter. Because I'm coming back to these things. I ain't going to leave you out there. I'm going to bring you right back so you can see what took place here. He said, begin in my sanctuary. 1 Peter. Let's go in the book of 1 Peter, chapter 4. And we're going to see here now. And to show you how the scribe put this in, and I'm going to put this before you because there was a third seed taking place that Abraham didn't bear. Constantine bare Christianity. Christianity came out of Constantine. Didn't come from Abraham. So, this is what Peter said, the scribe said, that Peter said. The scribe put Christian here. Peter was a Hebrew. You can call him a Jew. He wasn't a Jew. He was a Hebrew. And being a Hebrew, he understood who he was serving as a Hebrew. When this took place in verse 16, if any man suffer as a Christian. It should have said, if any man suffer as a believer in Yahweh. But they put Christian here. They put a title here, Christian. When they did that, the scribes error again. And when the scribe error, it's because they were trying to say that Peter said, if you suffer as a Christian. Peter had nothing to do with Christian. This epistle was written just like James to the Hebrews, the 12 tribes. Paul went to the Gentile so they may be grafted in. Saul went as a Hebrew to the Gentile so they can be grafted in. And if you're grafted into a place that is already established and organized, you can't take over the place with a name that the place already have. You got to see that you're coming in, and whatever you come into, you become part of. You can't take over the place. Let's read on. Let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify Yahweh on this behalf. Verse 17. For the time has come that judgment must begin in the house of Yahweh. Judgment must begin in the house of Yahweh. He sent over here in Ezekiel, and he said, begin at Jerusalem. So if you begin it at Jerusalem, and you're the house that you say that in God we trust, then we're dealing with this house too. Because you put that title on there just like they put Christian here. If you suffer, not as a believer, but as a Christian. This is how this is coming about. But he said, let judgment begin first in the house of Yahweh. And let me read this to you in Hebrew. I'm coming back to Peter, and I'm coming back to that. In the book of Hebrew, I want you to see this. Chapter 3, the book of Hebrew, and we're going back over in 1 Peter, then we're going back in Ezekiel. I'm taking you for you can see how Satan has deceived you. And if it were possible, he would deceive the very elect, but it's not possible because Yahweh got watchmen upon the wall that gonna cry out and gonna spare not, to show his people their transgression in the house of Jacob their sin, before he bring forth, that's the warning, that you may be afraid and work out your salvation with fear and tremble, before he let go his famine and his pestilence upon this country, you better heed the warning that's being said to you. And come out of her, my people. Come out of her house. Come out of her title, her images, her idols, her witchcraft, her sorcery, her familiar spirits, and come back to your first love, your maker and creator of the universe. Yahweh, the creator of all things. Let's read on here, Hebrews chapter 3. For this man, verse 3. I start here, verse 1, so we don't have no error in anything that you may think. I go through scripture to pass through it, that you may read for yourself what I'm saying. I say to minister unto you, but you need to read that you can be ministered unto also from the scripture. Verse 1, chapter 3, Hebrew. Wherefore, holy brethren, partakers of the heavenly calling, consider the apostle and high priest of your profession, Yeshua HaMashiach. He said our profession. I'm saying yours. That's your profession. That you love Yeshua. You love Jesus Christ, you say. Well, let's see then. Who was truthful to him that appointed him, as also Moses was truthful, trustworthy in all his house. Verse 3, for this man was counted worthy of more esteem, glory than Moshe, inasmuch as he who had built the house had more honor than the house. He had more honor than the house because he built the house. He built you. Got more honor than you. Let's read on. For every house is built by some man. Every shelter that a person go in is built by some man. It's called a shelter. To shelter you. To keep you in a position that you can be out of the rain and the cold and the heat at the same time, that you may consider you're dwelling in a shelter that they call today a house. So the Holy Spirit is dwelling in a shelter, a house that you have that is not yours. It's the builder that made it. It's Yahweh. Every house is built by some man, but he that built all things is Yahweh. It's Yahweh that built all things. And Moses verily was trustworthy in all his house as a servant for a testimony of those things which were to be spoken after. Now this was a testimony that should be spoken afterward. When you come into the knowledge of the truth, you should speak concerning the temple, the shelter that the Spirit of Yahweh is living in, because he is the builder of this house. And that's why judgment going to begin first in the house of Yahweh. That means you. That means me. That means it's going to begin first with us. The wood and stone is not going to carry no judgment. That's a shelter that was built by some man. Every architect that builds these skyscrapers has a blueprint. And he's the one that produced the building unto the builder to go and build it. But he has the blueprint of it. Yahweh is the one that got the blueprint of your life. He let you come into this earth that his spirit can be in a shelter in you. You're the house. Verse 6. But Yeshua as his son over his own house, whose house are we? If we hold fast the confidence and the rejoicing of the hope firm unto the end. So judgment going to begin where? First in the house of Yahweh. And if it begin first, it's going to begin first in his sanctuary, which is you again. So we go back over here in Peter, because you know now that the house is representing you. He's the builder. Verse 17. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 17. For the time has come that judgment must begin at the house of Yahweh. And if it first begin at us, because we're the house again, there's no escape. You have neglected the house of Yahweh that established you and built you and allowed you to prosper in this country these many years. Until something befall you, happen to you, you try to cry out to him. But not while you're prospering. Not while you eating, drinking, and being merry. You don't cry out to him. You don't have a mind for him. So he let famine come your way and pestilence overtake you. Because he gonna do it. But he gonna seal his people with his mark upon their foreheads. And if you're not his people, then you will be cast into the lake of fire. forever and ever and ever in torment, because you refuse to have a love for the truth, that you might be saved from your sin and iniquity by repenting and turning from your evil and wicked ways. Your church and denomination is evil and wicked because it's a denomination. It's a shelter. It's something that you entertain yourself in playing church. But you can't play with your creator and maker because he knows what's inside of you. He knows those that trust him. He's sending a mark upon us. You can't declare unto him at night when you lay down and in the morning that you wake up that you love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. If you can't declare that, you're not of his. And if you declare that, your fruit got to be made manifest. It got to show itself. You got to produce fruit by your own confession. And if it first began at us, what shall the end be of them on the outside that obey not the gospel of Yahweh, the good news of Yahweh? But you say, in God we trust. The fruit don't bear it. Your confession and you being a Christian bear no fruit. Period. You just eat, drink, and being merry, playing church. The house that the builder build got to bear fruit inside of it. And by the fruit you shall know them. Not by you going to church and joining Christianity and confessing you're this or that. All the religion that is in today, religion sect, has to understand what religion consists of. In the book of James, this is where you find the word religion. James chapter 1. The book of James, right? Go back and you'll see it before you get to Peter. It's before you get to Peter where I was at. The book of James, talking to the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad. This is his epistle. Chapter 1, verse 1. James, a servant of Yahweh and of Yeshua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. He says, shalom to you. Greeting. I'm greeting you, the 12 tribes that are scattered abroad. This epistle, just like Peter, was not to no Christians. It was to Yahweh people. And he's trying to warn them about the apostate that is coming upon them. And you're being warned, but you're not becoming his people. You don't want to be grafted in, whether you're Gentile or whether you're Hebrew. You don't want to serve him in fear and tremble. So the mark is placed upon them that are sighing for the abomination. They're making themselves ready to hear what he has to say to them. Let's read what James just said about religion, people. Chapter 1, he's talking to the 12 tribes. Verse 26 and 27. If any man among you seem to be religious and bridle not his tongue, can't bridle his tongue, talking about everything, going about talking about everything, but can't live by none of the things he say. Not living by none of the things he's talking about, but he's talking about. There's no fruit of anything dealing with his confession. If any man among you seem to be religious and bridle not his tongue, but deceive his own mind, his own heart, deceiving his own mind with his thoughts and imagination, talking to the Hebrews concerning his religion, other things that he's talking about outside of the will of Yahweh, Not in the will of Yahweh. This is outside of the will of Yahweh. This man's religion is vain. Whatever he's talking about is vain. You should discern that and know that, because he bear no fruit of it. He's not a doer of the word. He's just a hearer of other things, that he tell other things, that he talking about other things, telling stories about other things. He's a storyteller. Verse 27. Pure religion and undefiled before Yahweh and Abba the Father is this. This is pure religion. If a person seem to be religion, if a person want to be religion, if a person say they're religion, this is what they should be doing in their religion. To visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction. Because a fatherless has no more children or wife. They're left to themselves. The widow has no husband, no children. She's left to herself. Visit them. Go to them with your religion and comfort them in your religion that is pure, because you are not corrupting yourself in the world. So your religion of your confession should be pure. Blessed are the pure in heart mind, for they shall see Yahweh. So the fatherless and the widow shall see Yahweh working in you, visiting them in their affliction, and to keep himself or herself unspotted from the world. Now that's religion. No denomination behind it. Just religion. If you want to be religion, don't put denomination behind it, because what you're doing, you're contrary one to the other. If you say you are of a Baptist, Methodist, Pentecostal, Seventh-day Adventist, Jehovah's Witness, Apostolic faith, and say your religion, that's your religion, one of them align against you. Because you go to church all the time, but you don't go and visit the fatherless and the widow in their affliction all the time. But you go to church all the time, but you say you're religious. You can't be both and be pure and undefiled before the world. You can't be both. You're going to be one. So that is for you to understand what is going on in the house that you're supposed to be. Now we're going back over in Ezekiel. Chapter 9, verse 6. Slay early, old, and young, both maid and little children, and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. The old men, way back, they went back to the ancient. That was before the house. See, this dealing with the land. The land is sitting upon the earth. It's a shelter that was built. But Yahweh built you in the land with a living soul. And you forgot your builder and maker of heaven and earth. You're not understanding who you are. And you gave yourself over to the knowledge of the tree of good and evil. And the only thing you has become out of that tree is a transgressor, breaker of law. Verse 7. And he said unto them, defile the house. Now, if it said unto you, defile the house, and fill the court with the slain. He told the angels, defile the house. You're the house. It said defile you. And after defile you, it's going to slay you. And some of you don't know you're being defiled because you won't repent. And if you repent, you should cry out to Yahweh through Yeshua HaMashiach and say, forgive me, give me a chance. Just like Hezekiah was given a chance 15 more years to set his house in order before he died. But you don't have that concept of a mind to pray unto Yahweh. You're just trying to save that flesh because it's ill. You're not trying to save your soul, because the soul is not ill. The soul don't get sick. The soul don't experience death. The soul has to be cast into the lake of fire that was prepared for the devil and the angel. But the body is what go through that. The shelter is what go through these things. And this is what I'm sharing with you, that you may see and understand what the angels had charged to do in the land. Go through Jerusalem. Go through these places in the earth that has my name that he's trying to represent that I'm in. And when you say God, in God we trust, you better know what God it is, because you're calling a deity, not the name that he gave to the Hebrews. You calling a title that Satan fall up under all of them. Yahweh's spirit represent his name. His spirit represent his name. That's why these angels are going in his spirit. They ain't sent by man, they sent by Yahweh. And he said unto them, defile the house, and fill the court with the slain. Go you forth. And they went forth and slew in the city. They slew in the city, in the country, where all the people were gathered. City is a place of gathering a lot of people. Now you got metropolitan city in every country. So the country is a whole part of where the angels going to be going. And there's nothing in this earth that an angel can't go through and get you from. Nowhere. You can go up into the heaven, it'll get you out of heaven. You go into the deeper part of the earth, it'll get you out of the deepest part of the earth. You go into the sea, it'll get you out of the deepest part of the sea. There's no hiding place that you can hide from his commandment when he tell his angel, go forth. There's nowhere you can hide from. Let's read on. Verse 8. And it came to pass, while they were slaying them, I was left, and I fell upon my face, and cried and said, O Yahweh Creator, will you destroy all the residue of Israel in the pouring out of your fury upon Jerusalem? Ezekiel asked Yahweh a question. Oh Yahweh, will you destroy all the Hebrews and point out your fury upon Jerusalem? The answer was no. Only those that did not have the mark upon their forehead. Only those that were sighing and crying and weeping for the abomination they see. See, your TVs is abomination in your dwelling, because the TVs today only representing what is showing you, entertaining you all the time with their commercials, programming your mind to see. You wake up seeing, you lay down seeing. You never see Yahweh's hand writing upon the wall, because you're looking and being entertained by the TV. They're luring you to sleep in death and sin. Well, you say, minister, why you say that like that and stuff? Because it was invented. It was invented for a reason. And the reason is, in the book of Psalm, because I'm coming back here to Ezekiel, the book of Psalm, chapter 101. Make sure I get it here. I'm looking at the ministry on the TV and stuff. I'm looking at a lot of things. The computer is enough. You see how the computer is messing with you. In the book of Psalms, 101. And if the computer, you know you can cut it down, you know you can stream this and you can stream that, you know your cell phone can pick up this and can pick up that. But the TV is way powerful than anything else, because it captivates your mind and take your whole house to sit down together in the midst of it. The computer is dealing with an individual, and the individual go into secrecy to watch and see and hear what they're doing. The whole family can't really sit down with one computer. But the TV they can. And that's why they mount up these big old gigantic TVs to put in your house, that you will sit before them. We don't own now, haven't owned now, don't want now. Praise Yahweh for his goodness in the land of the living. In the book of Psalm 101, verse 1, I will sing of mercy and judgment. Unto you, O Yahweh, will I sing. This is what David, King David, was saying unto Yahweh, his maker and creator. I will sing of you, of your mercy and judgment. I'm going to sing with a song in my house, my dwelling place, of your mercy and of your judgment. Verse 2, I will behave myself wisely in a perfect way, mature and complete. That's what the word perfect means in Hebrew. Mature and complete. So there won't be no failing. You're mature enough to know you shouldn't fail. You're completed enough because you have had a journey in life with your Creator to know his ways and his doing with you. Not with his kingdom, just with you. And with you, you should understand how to behave in the midst of him. Or when will you come unto me? He asked that question. Or when will you come unto me? And look what David, King David, had to say. He had to say this right here before. When will you come unto me? And you should be asking the same question, because you know he's not coming into you in the midst of all that confusion and that TV going like it's going in the midst of you.